I am live. At least I think I am. Oops. Okay. There we go. Let's get that other screen up. Oh, forgot to turn my volumes down. I do that all the time. Dang it. No. Let's just mute. Yep. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, then. Internet browser. Oh, my phone's updating. Wonderful. Woohoo. What a pain. Oh, my goodness. Huh?
It's the perfect time for it to do it.
Because I'm not really using my phone?
Right.
Hey, Rochelle. How you doing there, lady? We're going to do something different today. I know you guys like the color and chat stuff, but sometimes I just want to do something different.
Well, they can still color and chat.
Oh, they can color and chat all they want, sure. They can lurk. They can, tell dirty jokes. It's okay. Oh, that's good to hear, Rochelle. I'm hoping that means you're doing well. So yeah, that's good. A little late today. Time got away from me, and I was just all of a sudden going, "Holy crap! It's noon." Oh yeah, I'm supposed to blame the cat. Shoot. Well, the cat's out of the bag now. That was funny, actually. Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of crafting with journal related stuff. So I don't know if you'll enjoy that or not, Rochelle, or anyone else who is hanging out. But yeah, decided a little bit different things here. So always working on something. Yeah, and there's a paper plate here with a wet paper towel on it because that wipes the glue off better. So yeah, it's gonna get messy. So anyway, so what I'm doing is I am making these little mini journals. I'm using pieces of, this is a piece of, oh, thank you. Oh, these, yeah, they're round. And I'll get into an explanation on these in just a bit because I need to do a little bit of explaining with using wire for various things. So there's that. But yeah, I take these and I get my scoreboard out. And if you don't know what a scoring board is, I'll show you. A scoring board is this little gadget. It's really handy. It's got lines, like grooves all along it on, it's like 1/8-inch measurements. I have gone over this line with a Sharpie so I can have a line to line it up with. And oh, cool. Awesome. Electronics. Wow. That must have been interesting. So what I do is I take this DVD label. It's pretty, it's like cardstock, but it's harder. And I have a whole bunch of these because we were in a video store. This was a couple years ago or something, and they were closing down. They were going out of business, and I found a bunch of these things, these labeled cardstock like labels, and I was like, oh, cool. The pictures on them are really neat. And I didn't really, I had an idea what I wanted to use them for, but I didn't have a whole plan formed yet. And fortunately, I didn't use them for that partially formed plan because this is much better. So Yeah.
So I'm just curious, which one is it?
Which one? What?
Which DVD thing?
Am I holding?
Flip it over.
Atlas Shrugged.
Ah, okay. I was just curious, that's all.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just opening my other window to show my other stuff. There's live chat. Okay, we're good. It looks frozen. Okay, hold on. My picture on, there we go. There we go. Okay. My picture on YouTube was frozen. So okay, well, whatever it was, I fixed it. Yeah. So what I have here is a it's 8 inches across. And what I do is I find my center point, which is 4, and I'll go, and this is a nail, it's a nail art tool, and it's really good for embossing and for scoring, because this little ball on the end, if you can see that, it fits down in the groove from the other side of these papers or cardstock really, really well without pushing too hard. And I have more control over this than I do over the little bone folder that came with this. And the bone folder is plastic. It's nice, but I like it, but I like this better. So I use this more often. And it's got 2 sizes on this one. All of them have, I have like 4 of them that came in the nail art kit. And I don't have anything linked under my video right now because I didn't know exactly what I was going to talk about. So I just kind of left it. And if I need to, I'll fill it in later. So we can do that. I might as well get a little notepad out right now so I can write this stuff down.
And Michelle said it's sturdier too.
It is sturdier. Nail art kit. And there's a lot of other things in there too that you can use for various things, like the little acrylic jewels you can use, and the little like pinstriping, adhesive pinstriping. You can use that too, and you can put those in your coloring books. I put them in on my coloring pages too. So I use them for all kinds of stuff, but I don't use them on fingernails because, well, my fingernails are so brittle and thin, they break all the time. That's why I never grow them very long. So anyway. So I find my center point and I decide how wide I want my spine to be. And that is how far out I go. Now for these little mini journals, there's not going to be a whole lot of pages in here. There can't be, because it wouldn't stand up to that many pages. It's not sturdy enough to hold a lot of pages. It would also make it on this end that opens on that side, it would make it what you call gator mouth, which means that it would be permanently open like that far. And I don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to go the center point, and I'm going to go out 1/8 of an inch on both sides, on each side. And this is a little bit, you got to get it started. Oh, dang it. It just hopped right out of that groove. But that's okay. I mean, it's going to get covered up anyway. So it really, really doesn't matter. And we can go from the bottom, from the top. And then once you get the groove, you just go over it a couple of times if you need to. And then you got your groove made. This is a narrow spine. It's narrower than the others. I think I went to different measurement last time, but that's okay too, because it's still in the center. And that's what's important. You don't want it more on one side than on the other. And when you're folding after you've scored, a lot of people will fold this way. Well, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to fold it that way because it's less stress on the paper. So, or cardstock or whatever you're using. Yes. So, and it's really easy, basically pretty easy, just to fold it right there. And voila, we have a spine. Ta-da! Pretty cool. Anyway, so there we go. And I am going to put this down. Stash it in its little corner down here. Everything's got like 2.2 inches of space to sit in because I don't have a lot of room, but it's enough. It's just I can't. I have to put everything back. Hey, Selena, how are you? And what in the heck happened to your hand, lady? I hope you're not in much pain. Because dang, that looks like it hurts. I saw your pictures on Instagram and I was just like, oh, ow. Okay, carrying on though. Deb, hey, we're doing craft along with me with little mini journals. I'm sure you noticed that from the title of the video, but hey, we haven't really gotten started yet. All I've done so far is I've taken this piece of heavy DVD label cardstock. It's actually heavier than cardstock. And I've scored it and bent it so it made a spine. So I have a spine. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to get some fabric. And I'm just going to take you through the steps that I use. It's the steps other people use too. And I'm not perfect at it. I'm not an expert. But I'm used to doing it now. So I don't even need to look at like, a book or a video. So here we go.
So you don't follow the directions?
I don't follow the directions. So let's work with lines because when you're working with glue, it's really difficult to get your lines straight. Yeah, there's a paper plate here. I was saying a little while ago, there's a wet paper towel on this paper plate for wiping glue up because the glue that I use is like industrial strength sticky. So this is a really cool pattern. I got this at a sewing shop here in locally called Mo Queens. I don't know if they're nationwide or not. I don't think so. But it's cotton, so we have to be really careful about how much glue we use and make sure that it doesn't like seep through the fabric, because if it seeps through the fabric, it makes spots on the fabric, which is really not desirable at all. So we've got the selvage edge here, which means that should probably be on the inside. Because if it's going to be on the outside, you would have to put it at the top and turn it down. Sorry about the motorcycle noise. The front door is open because it's stuffy in here. So anyway,
Can you just cut that off?
I could cut it off, but it's not a good idea because this is stitched in such a way. It's the manufacturer's stitching, and it won't fray. So you kind of want to leave the selvage on if you can. So, oh, dude, you punched a glass picture. Wow. You've got like an Irish temper then, huh? Oh my gosh. Well, I can't say I haven't done that, but I didn't punch a glass picture. I punched a paneling wall. And yes, I broke something at that time. That was a long, long time ago. So anyway, if I was going to put it at the top, I would want to fold it down. And when you do that, that kind of makes, there's a thing inside of a binding of a book called a headband. And that is the top of the book block. And the book block is all of the signatures. A signature is like a grouping of pages of how many ever you want, 5, 10, 15. And there is probably, multiple groupings in each book. And each grouping is called a signature. So say I have 3 groupings of 10 pages, that's 3 signatures. So those 3 signatures all together would be a book block. So what I can do if I wanted to, I could bend that down. I could fold that down like that, probably press it into place because it's so much easier to work with that way. And then glue it that way. And then once you glue it that way, you kind of would sort of have a little bit of a headband, and it would be really neat looking, but like tidy looking. But I don't want to do that because I like to have my frayed edges and stuff like that. Also because I don't have one at the bottom. I don't have a white strip like that at the bottom. And I could fold it on the bottom too. And once you put this glue on, this 3-in-1 glue on, it keeps it from fraying. But just for the purposes of this, what I want to do is I want to put this on here. And I'm going to get my cloth cutting scissors here. Only cloth. And I'm going to cut it on purpose. I'm going to purposely cut it a little too large. And I really don't measure a whole lot. I kind of eyeball it. But after this many times of doing it, I've done it like multiple dozens of times. I'm getting used to eyeballing it and just eyeing where it is. And if it's a little crooked, it doesn't really matter. It's called a junk journal. So it's okay.
But if someone wanted to measure it out, how much extra do you think they should be using?
Okay, if you wanted to measure it, you want to go past your edge of whatever material, whatever construction material you're using for the inside, for the hard part of your cover. You want to go past that by about an inch. Unless you want to fold it over more than that, then you would make it at like 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches. And it really is a preference because some people like to have that big fold over. So when they put their inner piece on, whether it be fabric or paper, they have enough folded over to really secure it down well. And I'll get into that too. I'm getting rid of that. Okay, so what I do first is I fold it back over and I'll get out my glue. I'm going to put these away so I don't get glue on them because that would really snap my track. And that's what I usually say. I usually say it snaps my thong, but I don't wear thongs anymore. And my glue is almost gone. I've got another bottle over there that's already open, but I like to use these up as much as I can. We're just going to put a line of glue, and this is this 3-in-1. It's acetone glue, so it's really smelly, but it works really, really good. And then what I'm going to do is I could use this paper towel for this, but I like to use my finger because I can feel where it's going. And then just wipe my finger off here. And that's important to wipe it off because you don't want to get this glue everywhere. So then what you want to do is just take the spine, and sometimes it helps if you unfold the whole thing and you can line it up. So you line it up and put it down. You want to make sure that you get it down there really good. And then pull it over so you can make sure that this is secured on there pretty well. And it's not leaking. It's not leaking through. And the reason why it's not leaking through is because I spread it very thinly with my finger. So it doesn't have like globs on it. And that's generally where you get the leak through, is with the globs, unless you've just used like a ton of glue and it's just like soaking through everywhere. So it grabs really fast. It takes a few minutes to dry, but it dries relatively fast. It's not super duper expensive.
Yeah, things three of them would hold a horse's hooves.
It's possible. It's possible. Oh my gosh, that is funny. Let's see. We've got a few pieces of paper hanging off here that I'm going to get rid of because if it gets glued to that paper, it won't glue securely. So you want to kind of make sure that you've got a flat surface down here. There's that. Yeah, that's easy enough. Because that part, it came like that. I didn't do that, but it's easy enough to get rid of. There we go. Okay. Now, I left my glue open. Now what we're going to do is basically, and you want to make sure you don't have any like little strings or fluffies inside of here because it'll make a lump on your book cover. So you kind of want to just, and I squeeze this like this before I let the glue run down into the tip because it's almost empty. And if you don't do this, it tends to volcano out the top. If you do this, you provide for air displacement. So when you tip your bottle back over and it breathes in, it sucks the glue back down. So I'm going to just... Hey, Katrina. Hi there. Good to see you. So I'm just going to put this glue down here. And I want to get as close to the edge as I can. I don't really want to go over yet because I don't want to glue that part yet. But I go around the edge and then a big X through the middle. And then I'll just like switch back. And you can go any way. You can do it any way you want, really, because there's really no wrong way to do it. Just get the glue on the dang thing. And then you're going to want to spread it again. And you don't want to wait too long to do that because, like I said, it glues really fast. So you still want it to be spreadable. And then you carefully want to go from the middle, tip your book, your cover out like that, and then go out. And that helps that helps squish the glue out towards the ends. And look at that. Look at how smooth that is. That's so pretty. God, this fabric is gorgeous. Lulu! Hey there. Good to see everyone. The finger tool. You watch Pam. You watch Paper Outpost. Yes, the finger tool is an amazing thing. So there's that. And hold on. I've got another little piece of paper down here. See that? I need to get that off there. There we go.
Yep, Mark 1 FNGR, still one of the best tools on.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yeah, Lulu and Katrina, whoever's come in recently, hi and welcome. And we are building journals today. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I love making books. I love books. So I've never lived anywhere that I haven't had books around. When I was a little kid, we had a lot of vintage books, and they were vintage when I was a kid. My mom collected them. She collected antiques. So I'm going to go around the edge, big X through the middle. And then on this one, I think I'll just do this circular circle thingies. And then I'm going to let my glue get back inside of there and smooth it all out so I don't have any big globs sitting anywhere. And then we will go the other way. So we've got that. And you want to pull it back the other, you want to shut it like this, because if you happen to get it too tight, it's going to pull on your paper cover, on your inside, on the paper on the inside. And you don't want it to do that because it'll cause ripples and ripples in your fabric. And if you cause ripples in your fabric, it's just not going to look as nice. So you can see how crooked this is. It doesn't matter. I'm going to trim a lot of that off anyway. So what I've got here is and if you don't get it all the way to the edge, that's okay. It can still wrap really well. So that's not a big issue. It's one of the reasons why I love making these things. It's because it's really relaxed. There's not a lot of rules. It's not like, you don't have to put it in a book press, et cetera, et cetera. So what you want to do is trim it and I trimmed it. I did it too far, so I'm not going to trim that under, but trim it at about an inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. However wide you think, eyeballing it. And then I'm just going to go around the whole thing like this first. And then a lot of people, I will show you what a lot of people do for the corners. Some people don't do this for the corners, and that's okay too, because there's no wrong way. And you don't have to use 3-in-1 glue. You can use art glitter glue. You can use a water-based glue. You can use Fabri-Tac too, or other fabric glues. I highly recommend using fabric glues because you are gluing fabric to something. So that kind of helps. And I can show you what we're going to do with those scraps in a bit. But okay. Hey, Diane. How you doing? Welcome, everyone. Okay, and I've got glue on my finger because I forgot to wipe it off.
Say hello to Diane's sister, Deborah.
Oh, hi, Deborah. You are welcome as well. No, I did not. I looked down before it came across. Okay, so I'm sorry. I've got glue stuck to my finger and it's driving me crazy. So you ask, why do I do this?
Why not?
Because it's fun. Because peeling glue off my fingers gives me something to do later. I don't know. Okay. So we don't have to determine top or bottom yet, which is a good thing because, you don't have to. But what I like to do on the corners is at a 45-degree angle-ish, start cutting and then leave yourself like an 1/8 of an inch on the corner. And then that gets folded. So what'll happen is you'll have it like this, sort of, anywhere in that neighborhood of shape. And then you'll glue this one first, but when you glue the second one, you're going to tuck this corner, and it might be a little difficult. And you'll get your fingers in the glue. It'll happen. But you hold that down, and then you fold this over, and it makes like a little gather in the corner. I didn't do this very well, but I will once there's glue on it because it'll stick down. It'll be like a third finger or an extra finger or something. So we just want to continue on and trim these corners. I'm going to trim the corners. And you don't have to use this kind of a little DVD label thing. You can use chipboard and round the corners. You can use cereal boxes, cracker boxes, medicine boxes, all kinds of crazy stuff.
So I noticed you
What?
semi are rounding as you cut them. Is there a difference between doing that and cutting it straight across?
There is essentially no difference between rounding it like this and cutting it straight across. I like to round it like this because that's how I learned to do it. I did do it straight. I have done it straight across before, and I don't think it doesn't work as well for me. So what ends up happening is I'm really clumsy about it because I'm not used to working with it, and it doesn't work as well. And that's the only reason. So I save these little bits too, because you can make little fabric clusters with them. And those are really good for decorating inside your journal because you can add like a layer of lace, a layer of ribbon, and then a button on top, or something, a sticker, a piece of paper. You know, the possibilities are multitude. And I keep my little scraps in this coffee can. And Mark made this for me, I think. Anyway, just stuff them all down inside of there and keep them till I need them. Okay, so what you want to do now is you want to make sure that you've got enough kind of there. Get your little bits off of there. Yeah, I'm just throwing stuff all over the place. Okay, make sure there's nothing underneath. My little snippy scissors. These are awesome because they've got a spring in them, which is really good for hands that hurt, arthritis or otherwise. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we do the top and the bottom first, or the long ends first, bottom and top. It doesn't matter which way you go because at this point there is no bottom or top. But you want to make sure that you get the glue, on the edge, as close to the edge as possible. And yes, we're going to use finger tool again. And it should go, try and kind of guess that you're taking it down as far as this is wide. So, and you don't need a lot of glue, but you do need enough to make sure that it adheres well. So I'm going to smoosh this glue around and push it out toward the corners and wipe my finger off. And while you're wiping your finger off, generally this gets a little bit tacky, which is good because if it's too wet, your fabric will slide. You want to start from the binding, from the middle, and just kind of pull it down and press it down, just like that. Little piece of thread sticking in there. Okay, there we go. And I got some on the outside, which doesn't matter here. See how I got glue right there? See what a mess that is? Doesn't matter because you're going to cover it anyway. But if there's a bump, you want to kind of get that, like if there's a glue goober, you want to get that out of there. Hey, it's a technical term. Mark's laughing at me.
Hey, so your bone folder thingy for your creaser, could you use something like that to flatten?
You could. You totally could use a bone folder. However, that will get the bone folder all gooey.
Yeah, but you said you don't like that plastic one anyway.
Well, I don't, but I save it for folding. I save it for that because I'll show you why. This is not a real credit card, so don't freak out anybody, okay? This is just one of those fake credit cards I got in a mailer. You can see how it's got crap all around it because I've already used it for stuff like this. If you have something like this that comes in the mail, like it's a fake credit card that, it's nothing on it, it's fake. So you can use that to press down your glued portions. And it's really, really good because it's got a nice straight edge. You can also use old credit cards. I don't know, old driver's licenses if you don't want them, and you know, that kind of thing. It's anything that is comfortable in your hand that you can use that is relatively stiff and can squish the glue for you. So start from the middle and then just pull the rest of it down like this.
Remember, if you're going to use an old credit card or an old driver's license or something like that,
don't show it.
Right, don't show it.
Right. So you can, yeah, sure, you can do this. This is perfect. See? And it just squishes the glue down in there, and it squishes the cloth onto the glue. And then there you have it. And you don't care if it gets all gooey because it's fake. So you've got your top and your bottom. Generally, what I always do is I let that dry for a little while because it's really important to have this. Oh, cool. Coloring. What are you coloring, Diane? But yeah, it's really important to have the top and the bottom done first and done well. And because those are, you know, those are the parts that people are going to see. This part over here, you don't want to pull these end parts really super duper tight, because when you do that and when you fold it, it's going to pull. And like I said before, if it pulls too hard, it'll either pull the glue loose or it'll cause your board inside to crinkle and wrinkle, and it won't look good. Might as well just start over at that point. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this, and I'll show you how I do the little tucky corners. Oh, and another thing about this glue is if you have fingernail polish remover or acetone, just pure acetone, you can thin this glue out when it starts getting thick, and it'll come out a lot better, and it'll volcano less. And once you do it, you know, it's like you save a bunch of money because you can get more glue out of the bottle. But yeah, it's just fingernail polish remover. It's super simple. Okay, so we're gonna do the little squish.
Oh, the hand's coloring Harley Quinn.
Awesome! I love Harley Quinn. She's awesome.
She's never heard of her before, so she got pictures of her.
Oh wow, yeah. I like the comic book stuff a lot. So I'm tucking that in. I tucked that in once, and it's not going to stick right away because it's very wet. But I'm tucking it in. Let's see if I can show you guys. So it's kind of folded over. And the more tacky it gets, the easier it is to make it stay. So you kind of want to make it, you know, get a little bit tacky. And then you want to go to the other side and do that side and start from either side or the center. It really doesn't matter. This one I need to trim just a little bit because I don't like the way it's too straight for me. So I'm just going to put it at an angle and fold that little piece under and pull it over like that. So what we have is like a little gather at the corner. And it's okay if it sticks up a little because we're going to put paper. We're going to put end papers over the end. These are my icky scissors. They have sticky stuff on them. They're not too bad because I sharpen them regularly, like every day. And this is to sharpen them. This is a Fisker's sharpener. It has left or right-handed, depending on. You can take this piece off and flip it over for left hand. And this is for right hand. I got this at Walmart for like $6. And it's really, really handy. I have 2 of them. I don't know where the other one is. That's okay. So then this, you just drag your scissors through there, and that kind of cleans them off on the edge, so you don't have that sticky on the edge, which is cool because, you know, trying to clean that off the edge is a little dangerous if you're me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue this edge down. And we really don't have to determine which side is your up and which side is your down until you start putting pages in, because that's going to matter at that point. So squish that all down. Make sure you get to the edge, get the corner. Okay. Oh, that's a little thick right there. All righty. So, whoops, hold on now. Hold on. Geez. Tuck. And then kind of fold it down right there. There we go. Yeah, I got glue all over my fingers. Oh, I forgot to do that second. That's okay. Okay. And because it was tacky, it just sticks right away. So there we have a little, basically we got your cover done. Well, most of it, because you still have to put in the papers on the inside. So if you have some decorative papers, it's a great time to do that. And I do suggest using the 3-in-1 because it won't make your papers warp. If you use heavy cardstock, it'll be okay with like PVA or art glitter glue, this white glue. It's water-based. That will be okay if you're using heavier paper. You know, it's up to you. If you don't want to use that kind, if you want to use Elmer's, you can use Elmer's as well. What works too sometimes, if you don't use too much glue, is use your bone folder and squish the glue, the wet white glue, the water-based glue. You can squish it out. You can squish out a lot of the warps, but you can't. Sometimes you can't get all of them. So I do suggest using something that doesn't warp to begin with. So what we have here, I have a whole bunch of scrappy papers. Let's see. I don't know which one to use.
While you're doing that, Lulu's making dinner. Spaghetti bolognese and garlic ciabatta bread.
I'm coming over to Lulu. I'm going over to Lulu's.
I put that too. I'm coming over.
I'm coming over because that sounds really extraordinarily good.
And then Lulu's with that would be awesome for you to go back to.
He can go by himself. He'll behave himself. Just don't give him any doggy treats.
Hey!
He's like, wait, I like doggy treats. Let's see. Does this look okay? I think there's too much yellow in that. And this is sometimes the part that takes me the longest because I like to have something that matches pretty well. So, or if I can't find that, I'll just get something that doesn't match at all, that totally clashes, and use that.
So it's one extreme or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I have this piece of parchment. This is cardstock. You can get this anywhere. And I don't know, I think that looks pretty okay. It's not real fancy, but it's sturdy.
And it can be wrote on.
And it can be written on. So what I'm going to do is, I know, I'm going to measure. Sorry, guys. I'll put my scissors away. And let's see. I need my ruler. Got everything hanging on hooks. Okay. So I have, and you don't want to go all the way to this. There's two little folds. Can you see this? Let me get my pointy thing. I need a pointy thing. Oh, that won't work. Oh, come on. Oh, a tweezer. That'll work. Okay, so right here, we've got a fold here, and we've got a fold here. That's where we scored it and folded it for the spine. So you don't want to put any paper over that, because if you do that, it's going to bind up and it won't open and close easily. So you have to make sure that you don't measure all the way to that. In fact, we don't want to measure all the way to that, because I'm going to reinforce the spine with another piece of fabric over the paper. And what I do is I cut it with pinking shears, and it looks really cool. Or you could do it the other way, where you put the fabric on first and the paper on second. And then the paper would be mostly what you see when you open the book. And that's fine too. There's so many different ways to do this. And it's just really, it's really personal preference. But this is the way that I like to do it, because I think it looks neato. So what we have is like about 3 3/4 by 5.5. And I'm writing that down because I'll forget. So I'm just going to write here 3 3/4 by 5.5. And that is just for one side. If I was measuring all the way, like for pages, I would measure this much. And that is about, it's 8 inches. So what I'd want to do is take off a 1/2 inch so that each side would be in a 1/4 inch.
So you take the paper all the way to the edge. You don't leave a border on the edge?
Generally, I don't do that. No. Sometimes, I mean, there's a skinny border, which really does, I mean, sometimes like with this, because it's got the lighter color, the skinny border of dark color is going to look really nice. So 3 1/4 by 5.5. And what I'm going to do is try and get some more of this glue off my finger. You should have seen me yesterday. Oh my God, I was covered with it. Just my fingers, not my whole body. So I'm going to get out my little cutter thing that is really not very accurate, but it works. And I suggest not having a pair of pliers or tweezers or anything underneath there, because I'll just throw it off. Okay, so let's do 3 and, what was that again? 3 1/4. 3 3/4. 3 3/4. And I frequently cut these wrong because that's just what I do. And yeah, just use one piece of paper. Stash my cardstock over there. And it's 5.5. 5.5. 5, and I have to flip this little guy out. 5.5. And of course, it's right there on that little hingy thing. 5.5 there. Whoops, didn't cut all the way through. See what happens. And it's not straight, but that's okay. We can deal with that. There we go. Oh, wow. That was a skinny piece. Literally a big skinny thing. Doop. Okay. Let's see, how much further do we have to go? See how crooked that is? Very, very crooked. But it really, honestly, it doesn't matter that much. Let's see, which one is straight, though? Oh, my goodness. That's the deal, trying to figure out which one is straight. Okay, so if I line it up on this line, that's the crooked one right there. And we are at 5 3/4. Nope, that's too short. So I do have to cut another one. So, sorry, that was 5.5. See, I cut it wrong anyway. For crying out loud. Okay. 3 3/4. 3 3/4. Let's line this up and get it straight here this time. I know you guys are like, geez, this takes forever. Generally, it doesn't. So that's 3 3/4, and now we need a 5.5. 5 1/2, and then I always check it against my cover to make sure. And that looks like it's straight-ish. 5.5. See, it didn't cut again, damn it. 5.5 and 5.5. Oh, that's going to be too long. And I'm not going to tear it. I'm going to cut it because I want my edges straight. Generally, if you're using something, you know, you don't mind if it looks a little raggedy, you can tear it. It looks super cool. At least I think it does, because it makes the book look older. You know, your little book, whatever you're making, it makes it look older. It's really neat. You've got all kinds of freedom with this. So I just need to take off this little sliver, and I think for that I'm just going to cut, because it's really, really hard to get this trimmer to trim that. It's like not even a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so there we go. See, look how skinny that was. It's like a hair. Okay. Oh, let's get done with this and this. And just before we get this on, we have to hold it up to the book, make sure that it's going to look okay. So we've got, yep. Now what I do with this is, I found this at a thrift store. This is the awesomest thing. It's a corner rounder and comes in its own little box. So you want to make sure that you're rounding the correct corners. And this just happens to be the same circumference as the round corners on this. So that was fortuitous. So we've got, see, look at that. Isn't that cool? And there we go. And it's going to look kind of neat. So we've got that. Make sure that I'm doing everything correct. Measure twice, cut once. Right? Okay. Back in the box. Back in your box. Okay. So I will go ahead and use my...
It's not the boo box, is it?
It's the boo box. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Hook with Robin Williams and oh, what's his name? Geez, I keep drawing a blank on him. Anyway, Robin Williams, Peter Pan. It's a cool movie. I love it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on this because this is smaller than this, just by a hair, but it is. So it's always good to put it on your smaller piece if you can and glue from there.
By the way, Rochelle is making homemade chicken ravioli.
Oh, homemade. Oh my God, Rochelle. Oh God, now I don't know whose house to go to. Oh my God.
I want to know if they won't deliver.
Do they deliver? Yes, yeah, cool. That'd be nice, but no. They're like, stay away from my food. It's too good for you.
I know, Rochelle says sure, so.
That's cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're gonna glue this down. And remember, don't put it against the spine fold. You will be crying later. So you want to go from this edge and push out, out, out. And yes, you can use your bone folder. In fact, that would be a good idea. Or your credit card. You can even use, you know, a regular ruler. If you have a rounded edge on it, you don't really want to use a sharp like this one, this metal one. It would scratch the paper. I don't want to do that. Not after all this. Okay, so we're going to glue this on. Come on, you can do it. It's not that difficult. You've got one job, follow gravity. There we go. I like this glue because the tip is clear and you can tell when it's ready to come out, and therefore you can gauge when you need to squeeze the bottle or get ready and clean up a mess, depending on where your glue goes. So, and it's pretty thin. You don't need to squish it because you're going to squish it in a second anyway. Come on, no volcanoing. There we go. Okay. And if you miss a corner and it needs some reinforcement on the glue, you can always go back in with another glue. It's not going to be a problem. Like if you go back in with the art glitter glue, it has this tiny little tip on it. Let me show you. It's got this tiny, tiny little tip. And it comes separately, but it's really, really tiny, and you can get underneath the edges of things really, really well. So I do highly recommend that. And I've only been able to find that glue on Amazon. So now we have this. You kind of want to wiggle the spine back and forth. It's all still wet. And generally, like I said, I would let it dry, but I'm going to go over and I'm going to reinforce the spine real quick. And I have this muslin to do that with. Muslin is good because it's all cotton, and it is natural, especially if it's unbleached like this. It looks really cool, and it doesn't offer a whole lot of contrast with your inner papers, but sometimes that's good because you don't want people to go, oh, there's the spine reinforcement, you know. So I don't know. Okay, cloth cutting scissors. And you want to cut this too big as well, because you're going to trim it down, and or not. I mean, if you don't want to trim it down, that's okay too. But I'm going to trim it down with my pinking shears because I think that that edge looks really good. So I'm just going to eyeball this like that. It doesn't matter if it's all raggedy and crooked because, like I said, trim, trim, trim. Okay. That'll work. And these pinking shears are about 75 years old. They're vintage. And they don't cut really super well, but I'm not getting rid of them because they can be sharpened and they will last forever. Okay, so how far in do we want to go? Do we want to hang over pieces? You know, that might make a really cool contrast because the, I mean, texturally, because the outside of the book, it's got this gorgeous pattern, and it's all nice and flat. But then if this, it looks sort of like a little cotton bookmark. I think I'll do that. I think I'll just leave it hanging and kind of pull threads off so it looks all shredded like that. Only more. Okay, and now we're going to try to cut this straight. And I think what I'm going to do at the top is do a little fold down like a headband on the inside like this, which is not difficult to do. It takes a little bit of, you know, concentration on my part, which might make me a little quiet, but you're all like, oh, that's a first. Okay, so I'm going to cut as best I can here because these are not that sharp, but they work. I'd rather cut on the, you know, while it's down on the table, but it works better for these scissors if I pull the fabric a little bit straight and tight. So I'm going to do that. Pinking shears, and they are good because, I don't know, you guys probably already know this, but this little jaggedy edge helps keep the fabric from fraying. So there's that. And this side is really crooked. So I'm going to start from this end. I'm going to turn this over. And I'm going to go like, and if you want to, you can always draw a line and cut to the inside of the line. So the line, you cut the line off. If you want to do it that way, you can draw a line and make sure that it's straight. Your cut, I mean, or more straight than it would be without the line. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Okay. A little crooked, but that'll work. Okay, so we've got little scraps everywhere, and that's good. And definitely you want to use 3-in-1 for this. What I do first is I'll just hold this up. Hold on. Getting all those little bits off. I'll just hold this to, you know, next to where I want to glue so I know how far. Try to get it as centered as possible because, like I said, I'm going to fold it down. So I'm just going to put like a little band of a little line of glue right there. You might want to put a little bit more over the fabric part and fold it under, or you could start like this if it's easier and then fold it over. Sometimes I do it this way depending on how big a piece I'm working with. And because I left it gloopy, it's seeping through, which is what I wanted, because when I fold it over, I don't have to put a whole lot more glue on, if any. And then you just kind of push it down really tight and hold it for a couple seconds, and it generally sticks. It'll stick enough. So yeah, it's coming through a little bit. So that's good. That's good in my opinion anyway. So that'll be permanent. So now what we have is sort of like a little, and it's crooked, but that's okay. I don't care. Yep. There we go. Let's see if that's more straight. Yep, that's more straight. There's a kink in it, but that you can fix that too. You might have to add a little bit more glue, but that's okay too. Like I said, very relaxing, very forgiving type of craft to do. And you know what's really cool about this too is if you wanted to, you could get, like if you're making, if you have a old coloring book that's falling apart, you can cut up those pages and stick them in here. You can bind them into this and have yourself a little tiny coloring book, like a purse-sized coloring book, or if you have like a little case that you keep your colored pencils in, this might actually fit in there with your colored pencils, and you can have a tiny little coloring book inside your pencil case. How cool would that be? Oh my God. Seriously though, I think that would be neat. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to, actually, I'm going to put a little bit more glue up here at the top, just a teeny bit on that little line. Come on, you can do it. It's almost gone. It's almost gone. Like that. I like that. And then I go down, just like I did on the outside, I'll go down the middle. And it's okay if you get it on the hinge part, because this glue is flexible when dry. Paper is not. Obviously, it's not that flexible. I mean, it bends, but it's going to crack after a while, so you really don't want to. That's why you didn't want to. That's why I said don't do that. Don't get the paper up to your hinge fold. So you can see where it's sort of coming through, which really doesn't matter because this is where you're going to sew in your binding. So it's going to be hidden. So you got that there. Just want to kind of push it down. And then this will go under here. As soon as it all comes back down to the tip. Make sure that I'm in screen. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Alrighty. And I just want to make sure that I get enough there. This part, you might want to squish the glue with your finger, or you can spread it with the tip of the bottle if that's good enough, and make sure that it's all smoothly, evenly distributed. And it's okay if you go past the edge because it's going to glue. It's going to dry. It's not going to glue anything once it's dry. It's going to be okay. And it's not going to be like immediately that we'll put the papers in this anyway. Oh, look, see, I need more glue up there. That's okay.
That finger tool's getting a workout.
It's getting a workout, all right. You can tell when I've been using it, so because I don't touch anything with my finger. I just leave my finger sticking out like that.
Highborn.
Oh, no, that would be my pinky.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. Whoop. Get that smushy stuff out. There we go. A little too much. It's okay. I'll wipe it off on my wet paper towel. And there we go. Kind of neat.
Oh, wait. You put 2 fingers in there. Why?
What? Off my back, bud. Okay. So that. I know. Stop doing that. Okay, so you want to do bend your spine a little bit more again, back and forth a little bit. Make sure that it's going to open and close good, back and forth like this. And push it down a little bit, kind of push your fingernail down into the creases and make sure everything's adhered really well, because that is going to be a big, big problem if it's not. And it's okay if it wrinkles up. See how it's wrinkling up in the middle there? That's okay too. That's okay too. Nobody's going to care. Really. It's going to actually, it's going to be fine. So that has to dry before we do anything else. So this is the last until I do something else with it after it's dry, and I may just video that. I'm not sure, but I have another one though. This is one that I did the other day, and yeah, it's a batik fabric, and then I have purple paper on the inside because there's little bits of purple in the batik. I have very thin cotton with pinking binding or pinking edges, and then I pinked the bottom and the top too, so it would kind of look like a bookmark coming out. And this spine is a little bit whiter. believe this is 1/2 inch, where that is, or this is a 3/4 or something, and that one over there it's only, or it's probably 1/2 inch. So anyway, so that's this one is dry. So what I wanted to do before I get into that, the pages and all that, is I wanted to go over what I do with this stuff, these little tiny bits like this. A lot of the time what I'll do with these, and I'm not a real bow person, but this fabric is amazing because of the pattern. So what I do is I will take these and I'll make bows with them. And that way I can decorate inside my journal with these bows because they come out really flat. And that is important when you're decorating inside of a journal, because you don't really want to make fat, fluffy bows. They will take up too much space inside your, see where I have that? I just made 2 loops. Loop on this side, loop on this side. Okay. And then I'm going to, and it's going to flip. And that's because that's what we want it to do. So one loop, oops, one loop goes around the other. See how that goes? Around the other and up through this hole. And then watch, see how that flips around? And this is the back of your bow. And you can tell that because it's got all of the undyed parts. It's, oh, wait, I did something wrong. Hold on. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Okay, let's do that again. So you want to just tie that like this. There we go. There, I did the wrong side. Oh, flipped it around. And if it keeps doing that, you can just flip this around. There we go. Tighten. Or if you want to leave it on the pale side, you can do that too, because I mean the contrast is nice. It's always good to have a contrast. We know that from art and coloring. Contrast can make a big difference with a lot of things. So you want to kind of tighten, and you can always pull that down, because you didn't tie an actual bow, you just kind of tied a knot with 2 loops. And I like to leave all of the little stringy things hanging because it looks kind of raggedy and cool. And if you like this side better, you can just kind of twist that around and pull that tight, and you've got yourself a little bow. And it's relatively flat. So there you are. Use everything, dang it. So I have a little bag that I put all these in. I got a little baggie with strings and bows in it. Oh my goodness. So that's what I do with those a lot of the time. Sometimes I just keep them. I've got some heat and bond. I'm going to make a snippet roll one of these days soon. Maybe I'll video that too. I don't know. People have done it a billion times, but I haven't. So, okay, so paper. What I like to do with my paper, I'm going to move this little ruler because I don't think I'm going to use it. I put it down there because I thought I might use it, but that's okay. What I like to do for my paper, I like to use all kinds of different stuff. And I have all kinds of different. This is old construction paper. It came out of an old scrapbook I picked up at a thrift store. This is old, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the kind of paper that kids used to use in school to draw on. Then there's like, let's see, this is from another type of scrapbook. And you guessed it, I've got some coffee stained paper and some more coffee stained paper. And I've got some, oh, and this is cool. This is cool. This is painter's paper, and it came as packaging inside of a thing I ordered like months and months ago. But it's really cool because it's thin, but you can still write on it. It's also good for decoupage because once you decoupage it onto something, you can squish it up and make a texture really easily in your decoupage. It's really cool. So we've got, I'm going to use my little ruler here to tear it, put my picking shears away. And I kind of want a flat surface to do that on because it's really, really difficult to do it on a surface that's got bumps. Sorry about all the noise. So I'm going to hold the ruler down. Ta-da! Save that for decoupage. There we go. And let's see, we have, measure how tall this is going to be. And it can be short. It can be too short. You can have shorty papers. You can have long papers. You don't want them longer than your cover or wider than your cover because they'll just stick out and get ruined. Oh. There we go. That. I've also got some Franken paper that I made. This is made with tea-stained, coffee-stained paper and all kinds of other. There's brown craft paper and parchment and old sketchbook. I love this little thing this look right here. Craft paper, a map, all kinds of stuff. So I'll just take a hunk of this. Oh, I'm sorry. I whacked you there. Hope you guys are okay. Didn't hit you in the eye, did I? Mark's over there going, what are you talking about? Okay, so generally what I like to do is I like to, and that's all uneven, which is super fine with me. Okay. So that might actually be enough for one signature. Because what you're going to want to do is when you make your signature, each page is each piece that you use, you're going to fold in half, which makes it 4 pages. So keep that in mind. 4 pages. It's a lot. What I like to do is I like to find out how tall my book is and then make sure that it comes in like a 1/2 inch total or a 1/4 inch top and bottom. And sometimes I do it more. It just depends on the book. Sometimes I do it more. So, and what did I say? That was 8 inches all the way across. So flip it 8 inches. So I want it 7.5 inches. So that's about right here. There you go. Oh, cool. And it folded on a nice thin piece of paper. So you want to get your bone folder. If I could find it underneath all this. I do this all the time. I bury stuff. Bone folder. Let's see if that works. A little bit long on that end, but we can fix that all at once in a little bit. I'll show you how I do that. I can do it with a craft knife. If I wanted to use this, I could just fold it like a little bit and then fold this page in, and then I could glue something to it. It could be a flip out. Am I blurry? There we go. Good. Okay. And let's see, 7.5, which is roughly here. And yes, save all of my scraps because I need to use them for other things, right? I don't like to waste things. 7.5, which is roughly here. So let's fold these guys up a little bit. That page is crooked, which is okay with me. This is going to be a shorty page. It's shorter than the other pages, which is spectacular because it kind of sits. See how that's going to sit in there? So you can make it like all the way in the middle, up at the top, down at the bottom. It's fine. Doesn't matter. The great thing about junk journals is you have the freedom to do so much. And that one's a little long. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to refold it. Let's just use this. Yeah. And then I'm going to make a flip on this side. So that page is going to flip out. So when you're coming along and you open up the page, you're going to say, oh, look, there's a flip out. Now, what I can do with that is I can also make a tuck. I can, I can do all kinds of, I can put more paper. I can glue more paper to it and make it so it folds out and out. Or I can make a concertina fold, which is an accordion fold. Do that. It's really cool. I love making this stuff. So there's that. This one's going to be too long too, I bet you. Yep. So I'm going to put the fold on the other side. Make that side a tad too short. And then fold it here. And then I want to make sure it's straight before I bone fold it though. There we go. There's that. And put that like that. There we go. And that one can be in the front. And I'll put something between. I don't like using the same type of papers together, like one after the other. So what I'll do is I'll cut another piece of paper and I'll put something else in between there. Another way that I can do this is I've got this that I made. You'll recognize this. It's from an old foil box, aluminum foil. And I just took it off of the box and glued it to some really heavy duty cardboard. And that is a tear ruler as well. It just doesn't have markings on it. I could put markings on it if I wanted to, but man, I've got a ruler. I could also glue a wooden ruler to it. Like you can go to the dollar store and you can get wooden rulers and you can glue a wooden ruler to this. And then you can have your tear ruler and a measuring ruler all together without spending $15 on Amazon. Sorry, I'm peeling a big hunk of glue off of my finger. Mark, can you come here a minute, please?
Yep.
Oh, golly. There we go. Yeah, and it's easier if you put it on the thin part and tear it the other way. But this one gives me a jaggedy edge. So that's why I did that. Mark's going to sit with you for just a minute.
Oh, boy. And now that the cat's away, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the night hour. What do you think? Should we do it? Should we do a YouTube like that maybe one day? Do kind of a spooky, Halloweeny, Addams Family-ish one. It's all quiet out there in YouTube land. I hope you guys are having a good time. I gotta tell you, Jo Beth really, really loves doing these things, and oh my gosh, she's just tremendous at it. I'm sure the people that she watches, I'm sure, are absolutely fantastic at it too, but I don't get to see their work firsthand from start to finish, and these I get to see built, and oh my goodness gracious, the amount of love that goes into each one of these is just crazy. But it's cool, you know. She does, Deb, and that pretty much goes for everything that she's ever done. Well, at least since I've known her, anyway. Her drawings, her paintings, the jewelry that she's made, these junk journals, her coloring. It's just she takes everything so I shouldn't say seriously, but lovingly. The amazing thing is she has so much fun while she's doing it. It's just there are times I can actually say I'm jealous. Yes, exactly. She puts her heart into it. When she was feeling better before all the surgeries and all the cancer started and everything, she actually made 2 spirit boards that were just phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. She took the time to sand them, to cut the boards the way she wanted them, to sand them down, and to wood burn all the little letters into it, and detailing work that she put, the artistry type work that she put in there, and then staining everything. And I mean, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. Yes, that glue does tend to get around, doesn't it? But as long as you remember to wipe it off before you start pressing down on your material, you're in good shape. Oh, so on a totally side note, tangent time. I forget who it was, but one of you turned us on to Lock and Key on Netflix. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is a freaking awesome show. If you guys have Netflix and you have not seen it, try it. It is so cool. I was telling Joe Beth the other day that I kind of look at it like it's a combination of the Spiderwick Chronicles meets It meets Narnia. It's the only way to explain it. It really is. And considering it was written by Stephen King's son, I can understand why it just takes you on this trip that's just amazing. But oh my gosh, the acting is fabulous. The storyline is just tremendous. It's just a really, really great show. So if you got a couple of hours and you want to kill it, give it a shot. Well, it's right now it's only season 1, so there's 10 episodes. Each one is about an hour long. So again, if you get a chance and you're into those kinds of things, Lock and Key on Netflix, great show. But then I also think that of The Witcher, which is also on Netflix and only on season 1. So in a couple of whatever, about a year or so, we'll be able to see the season 2s of each of these. But I'm a big gamer fan. Love games, and I picked up The Witcher a while back, but when I found out they were making it into a show, I was like, oh, I got to see it just to see how it compares. And now I'm glad I did not compare it against the game. While I understand that there's going to be, we're good. but the gal that they've got playing Yennefer is just, she's spot on, and she's a great actress. So again, another show. If you get a chance, take a look. It's called The Witcher. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Woohoo! Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, you're good at it.
Yeah.
He thinks he's not good at that. I tell him he's crazy. But he says, no, I'm not. I'm a carrier.
That's right.
He's so funny. Where are we? Hour 19. Okay, so we're still tearing papers. Another thing that I wanted to mention, though, too, is you could totally make these into a sketchbook. You could just take some sketch paper. Walmart sells pads for relatively cheap, and you could make your own sketchbook. I know you're like, why would I want to make one if I could buy one? Well, maybe you want to personalize it. Maybe you want to give it as a gift. Maybe you just want to use a few sketch pad pieces of paper in the book instead of the whole thing. It's entirely up to you. Let's see, what am I doing here? Is that an 8? That's a 9. That's 7 and a something.
Wow, that's accuracy.
It doesn't have to be accurate, which is why I love this stuff. And I think I'm just going to tear it right about there. And I'm going to tear it on this way instead. Yes. There we go. You can also make these little books with leather covers. You have to make sure that you get pliable leather, though, because, wow, some of that leather out there is so thick you can't even bend it. Yeah, ask Mark. He knows.
Yeah, you probably only want like 3
millimeters.
4 or 5.
Right. So we've got this. Look at, see how that looks sort of, ugh, it's all over the place. But you know what? It's really cool. Don't worry about this. We'll fix this. We'll fix it. And let's see, how big is this one? You know what? Maybe we can use that one too. Just do that. Let's just make that one a page 2. Waste not, want not, and all that. Let's do that here. Drop that in. Now it's getting kind of thick. See what I mean? It's not that many sheets of paper, but it's getting kind of thick. So you kind of want to make sure that, you know, you keep that in mind. You don't want it to get too thick so it doesn't close well. Also, you might want to figure out if you want to do a tie closure, if you want to like tie it shut, if you want to put eyelet in and string some stuff through there, you can always punch a hole through there. And I recommend getting one of these. It's a Crocodile 2 Big Bite. Don't worry, I didn't pay full price for this. I hardly ever pay full price for anything. I've had this for a while though, and I used a coupon to get it because that's what I do. You also can get one of these, and Mark's had this for leather for, God, I don't know what, like 3 years. Anyway, you've had this little, the Crocodile, the handheld one. Yeah, it's got a lot of wear and use. But I suggest if you're going to be doing journals and similar things, you should get the bigger one and not this one, simply because eventually I feel like most people want to graduate to the bigger one anyway, and it does the same thing. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, and the black paper. The black paper is really cool because you can use it with your like your Jelly Roll Moonlight pens or Stardust or whatever they are, and you can write on it with the white gel pens. It looks so cool. You can draw on it with white pencil or pen, and it just looks so neat. I love that effect. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to take these out because they're throwing me off. And now I'm going to straighten this out. Move my paper down. I have a glass mat, which I love to death, but sometimes it's just, this paper is really crooked. Sometimes it's just very slippery. The paper, not the paper. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, the paper on the glass. I'm babbling. Okay, so we're going to, I'm going to just stick this under here, get my little mark. And I'm going to tear it. And I don't really care if it's straight at this point because I can trim it. They make tear rulers that have different edges, and they're super cool. But dude, I'm like, they're not that expensive. You can get a set of, I think it's 3 with 6 edges, 6 different edges, and they're really nice. But why spend the money if you can just do the same thing with what you have at home? You know what I mean? See, 7 and about right there. About right there. Okay. I love that torn edge. That looks really cool. There. Bone folder. Boop. There you go. A lot of people also, when they're making journals, they will make signature covers. And like when you have more than one signature, this is a signature. This is the grouping of paper. This is a signature. This is only going to have one signature because it's so small. But when you have, a lot of people will do, like they'll take it and they'll make a signature cover. So each signature has its own little cover inside the book. And I think that is a really attractive thing to do, and I may use it someday, but I haven't yet. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch some of these around a little bit, or add one. I think I'll add one more piece of paper. Let's see, what's this? Oh, see if I got another scrap in here. That's kind of cardstock. I don't want to use cardstock because it's very thick. Ooh, tissue paper. Ooh, that would be neat. How light is that? Well, that'd be okay. Tissue paper is cool. You can still write on it, But say you've got a page in your book that's really decorative, and like a page from I don't know, a Japanese painting book where the painting is really beautiful. It's got like cherry blossoms and Mount Fuji on it, and you don't really want to write on it. You can put a piece of tissue paper around that page and write on the tissue paper and still have the picture behind the tissue paper, and it looks so good. It's really classy. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little mark there with my thumbnail, because you can do that on tissue paper. And this is vintage tissue paper. It was my mother's. I inherited a whole bunch of her stuff when she passed on. And this is one of the things. It was almost a full pad of, oh God, 18 by 24 tissue paper. It's huge. Anyway. I behaved myself. You did. I totally expected it from the peanut gallery, but yeah. So there we've got tissue paper. And I think I'm just going to center all of these mostly. I don't put my franken paper in the middle, really. So I'm going to do this. Yeah, that looks good. And I want to make sure, this is a good way to make sure that they are all even, is you just go like this. Hold tight, pull your ruler out. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we know that there are things here that are too wide. See how that sticks out right there? We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a page that does not stick out too far. And I think that page is probably going to be this first page. This one. So that edge right there is the one that we're going to aim for. And you're like, well, hey, what are you talking about, man? I don't even know what you're doing. You're right. You don't. I didn't tell you yet. You can probably guess, though. This is the part where Mark starts getting nervous. Because I'm pulling out my sharps. Okay. Craft knife.
That's okay. I got the first aid kit ready.
He's got the first aid kit and the blood transfusion ready. Yep. Okay, so what I do is I have another cutting board over to my side here, over there, and over there. And I cut on that because it's wood. I don't like to cut on my glass mat because it does scratch it, even though it in theory shouldn't, but it does anyway. So I'm going to take this over there. I'm going to lay my ruler down like this, and I'm going to cut like this. And you know what? I can just cut on this paper. I'll just do it right here. So what we want to do is we don't want to cut, we don't want to push too hard, because this is going to cut no matter what. This blade is really not very sharp. And you'll have to do this like multiple times to get through everything, but you don't want to push really hard. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, you'll cut through everything underneath. Secondly is if it slips, it could really injure you. And if you're not pressing really super hard, there's less of a chance that you will slip. Okay, so just be super careful. Don't need to push really firm, but not hard. Not like, don't kill it. Don't, you don't need to do that. It just takes longer. But it's way more exact and safer. There we go. So now we have a nice edge. We have that nice edge. Some of them are still kind of raggedy because my blade isn't super, super sharp. And that is fine. Like, see how that's all raggedy? I love that. That's really cool. And if you want to ink the edge of the page, that raggedy part is going to take up the ink really, really well. So all of these guys are too small to work with for most things, unless I'm throwing them all in a bucket of water with what's that stuff that they use to prevent mold? Not bleach, but with paper, you can get stuff. And if you have something like that, you can just put your paper scraps in it and they just kind of disintegrate and you can make homemade paper, but I'm not going to do that. Especially with this kind of paper, this like this kind of paper is really good because it's almost like rag paper, but it's not made out of, well, it's not made out of cloth. It's made out of tree. Hope. So now we have our little book with our single signature not sewed in. Okay. So now, well, how much time do we have? Half an hour. We can do this. What we're going to do is we're going to mark, and we're going, will you hush, you nut. We're going to mark this where we want to put our holes. And I don't, like I said, I don't really measure. You want to get it in the center. What you want to do is you want to get it in the center, like this way. It doesn't need to be in the center this way. In fact, sometimes it's better if it's not in the exact center right here, because you can mark it in such a way that by looking at a glance, it can tell you, you know, whether you've got the top upright or the bottom upright. So this one is easy because I've got a tail, because I've done that, you know, to make it look like kind of fancy. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of gauge the center here. And I know it's about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to go, okay. Oh, my lead is falling out. This is a pastel pencil. I'm sorry. A Stabilo Carbothello gray, and it marks on cloth really, really well. So I'm going to just make like a little dot right there. I tend to put a little X on it, and then I go for the center of the X, because sometimes your dots can be oblong. You just, you know, you just sometimes can't tell what's going to happen. And then I'll go, I don't want to go all the way to the top, because of course you want to have a little bit of room here. Some of your papers are shorter, so you want to make sure that you're going to be able to grab those with your stitching. So you want to make sure that it's like pretty much center. You go up, there's your dot, and then down here. And what I've done is I've put this and this closer together than this and this. That tells me that this is the top. And I've been doing that since I started, because it just made sense to me. I heard it other places since then, and a lot of other people do that. Pam at the Paper Outpost, she does that. It's really good advice. It does make your stitches look a little, I tend to think it makes them look a little bit more decorative, especially if you're only using one signature. But, you know, I mean, some people don't like that. Just personal preference again. So we're good there. Now you want to get a pokey tool. It's another technical term. I have an awl. This is really, really sharp. And I have a, where is it? I have a little book that I use that's got bad words in it, so I'm going to use the blank page. And I poke my spine holes first. I got a reason for that. This is always the way that I've done it as well. So I'll go to the center of that little hole right there, and I'll poke, and then I lift up and I push it through a little bit, because I like to have a bigger hole, because I like to use a bigger needle. And if you use a bigger needle, it's just easier to, that's the whole reason for that. I mean, it's, yeah, backtrack. So we've got this one. I'll make a little hole there. And then I pick it up and I push it through. Make sure you don't get that thing stuck up underneath your fingernail, because wow, that hurts. And then we're going to poke in the middle of that little cross sign and pick it up and push it all the way through. Oh man, don't do that to me. My computer's having fits again. So now what we want to do is, now you can do this one of two ways, or 2 of a million ways. I'm not sure. You want to find your middle. Find your middle. There's my middle. I'm going to make sure that your pages are situated the way that you want them situated. If you don't want your shorter pages all down at the bottom or all up the top, but you want them centered in the middle-ish, you should do that now. Make sure that you've got everything else situated the way that you want it. Your top is your top. Your bottom is your bottom. My bottom is my bottom, but your bottom is your bottom. Your bottom isn't my bottom. Yeah, take that for what it's worth. Anyway. Mark's probably over there going, what the hell are you talking about, lady? Oh, you can laugh out loud. It was designed for you to laugh out loud. So what you want to do is you want to flip it backwards. This is a really easy way to mark it. And generally what I do is I like to have, the binder clips. And I usually have 4 of them. But what I'm going to do for this is I'm just going to use 1 because it's such a small signature and it's such a small job. I don't really need to go into everything. But what I usually do is I'll clip one side. It doesn't matter what one. And I usually end up taking them all off one at a time and doing this twice because it's not snug enough in here for me. I like it to be really, really snug, all the papers together in this fold. I like them to be all just pushed down as far, as close as they can be to each other. And I'm just picky that way. That just means that I'm going to get a more exact punch through. So then this part, and you want to make sure your folds are nice, your creases are nice and sharp also. So I'm just going to put that one on there, but generally I put that one on and then you go to the other side and you put this one on. Then you situate your papers and you can change your clips if you need to. And then you go here and you go the opposite side here. So you do opposite sides one after the other until you're done. So what I'm going to do here is now let's make sure that I've got this the way that I want it. Where's that one page? I had that one page kind of in the middle. Is this, and just that, and that one. It looks good. Okay. Looks good. So now you need a pencil. So your top is your top, okay? Now, what you're going to want to do is make sure, pardon my head, big fat head and stuff, make sure that you're up here and down here beyond the pages, between the edge of the book cover and the top of the pages is the same pretty much at the top and the bottom. So it'll be like 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch here. So go there. Now see how this is really, really close to the edge of this sheet of paper? Let me hold that up. See how that hole is really close right there to the, here's my edge of the paper. And there's the hole for the stitching. That's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the clip off. That'll just tear right through. So what you need to do is you need to either push it up or down. So you're going to be missing one of the holes, which is fine because it's still going to be stitched in with 2. So you'll be okay, especially if it's at the top because these 2 are so close together. But so what'll happen now is, and you want to kind of make sure that the rest of them are going to be like that. So that one's going to be okay. The partial pages, the shorty pages, so that one's going to be, is that going to be held in by 2? Yep, that one will be okay. All right. So you want to kind of make sure that it's going to, the page that you're looking at is going to actually be held in by the majority of the stitches. So if you're doing a 5-hole instead of a 3-hole binding stitch, you're going to want to make sure at least 4 of them or 3 of them at the very least are going through your pages. So just keep that in mind. So now I'm going to go back, find my center.
Yeah, I know this is a silly question.
Probably not. Go ahead.
Can you just change the position of your hole?
Not once you have it punched. It looks horrible.
Yeah, but you don't have any holes punched.
Oh, yeah. I do in the binding.
You do?
I poked through my spine already.
Yeah, you did. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I will. So, okay, you want to line it up again. Make sure that you've got like roughly a 1/4 inch top, a 1/4 inch bottom, beyond the page, 1/4 inch from the page top to the book cover top, 1/4 inch from the page bottom to the book cover bottom. Okay, and this is going to work because you've got this allowance up here. You can see on this hole. See how that's not at the top of your page? That'll work. Don't want to pull the stitching too tight, but that'll work. And then this will work because it's past. This isn't going to be poked by that last stitch hole, okay? By your last stitch. So that'll work. So now what you want to do is you want to mark where you're going to put your holes. One's there, and one's there. Then take off your clip, fold it back the other way, and put the clip back on so your pages do not move, because if they moved after you punch the holes, that would be bad. So we've got this, and I do have a bookbinder's cradle that Mark made for me, but it's kind of it's hard for me to use. I'll just put it that way. So you want to find your little hole mark, punch through, and what I like to do is pick it up and push it a little bit of the way through so my hole is relatively large, because that helps me, like I said, with big eye needle. Punch. And if you're holding it correctly, it'll just punch right straight through the fold like that one did. It's great. And then, oh, slippery. So then we've got this hole through. Whoop, hey, come out of there. Okay. And you don't need to go all the way up because that is going to be too big. That gets much too big on the end of that round. Okay, let's get rid of this pokey book. Now, you got thread. You want thread and a needle. And I use wax on my thread. This is bookbinder's thread. It's the real thing. I got it in a kit on eBay about 7 years ago. I was lucky to get it because it was cheap and the shipping was really cheap as well. So what you want to do, leave your clip on. I always leave my clip on until I'm done stitching my book, my pages into my book, because that will hold them for you. You want to make it 1, roughly, 2, 3, plus a little more, roughly that long. And I need some scissors. Boop. I think I should put my glue cap back on before it just turns into a big solid chunk in the bottom of the bottle. That would be bad. I'm going to put my binder thread away. This is a block of beeswax. It is also from that kit that I got about 7 years ago. It looks like hell, but it works really great. And I usually hold it, thread sticks to it. I usually hold it somewhere, generally between my knees. And I just drag the thread through it. Once you get it going, like down inside of a little notch, it's really easy. You don't need to do it more than once. Generally, you can feel it. If it's got enough on it, it'll feel slightly stiff. If you want to do it more than once, knock yourself out. It again, personal preference. Don't want too much on it because it'll come off, it'll just flake off. It'll flake off in your book, which is a minor thing, but still, you might want to think about it. So now the needle that I use, I have all these little needles, and these are like, I've collected these needles over the years. This does not come with all these needles in it. What I want to do is get one with a relatively large eye and a blunt end, unless I'm actually poking holes through everything. For example, if I'm making a little book out of this, and this is just cardstock, there's no really heavy paper or card in here. It's just paper. If I want to punch holes, I don't want to use this needle. I want to use a sharper needle. So, and I would change my needle for that. I would use the same thread, but so there's that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you've got your pages oriented the right direction. That's my top. You can tell because my 2 top holes are closer together. And I will show you how to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which is pretty easy. The 5-hole one is the same, essentially the same deal, but it's just got 5 holes. And then you need to decide where you want your tails. Do you want your tails hanging down the center? Are you going to cut them off? Do you want them hanging from the outside? Are you going to cut them off there? Are you going to cover your binding? Are you going to cover your stitches on your spine with like a piece of lace or other fabric? If you're going to do that, you can start from the outside and go in. Or if you want to just leave the strings hanging here and decorate them, you can just go start from the outside and go in. I think I'm going to start from the outside and go in. So I just dump everything and then put the needle in there. And you can see there's my needle. And here's my little hole. You guys see that okay? I'm blurry. I'm blurry. I love that song, Blurry. It's a good song. And you just put it through the hole. There we go. Up. Don't pull it all the way through. And a lot of people will tie a button or a paper clip to this end, and that'll keep it from going through the hole. I just like to hold it. Like I said, I've done a few of these. So, okay. So we go through the top. And it's not in tight yet, so you can still pull it away and make sure that it goes through all of your paper. And then you put it through the hole in the spine. Pull it through. See how easy that came out? Just real easy. And then go all the way down to the bottom. Go in at that hole. I know, I'm covering it, I know. So we're going to go in that hole. And make sure it comes up. You can always pull it all the way through like this and then go through your hole in your pages, which is sometimes easier depending on, you know, how you like to do it. So then you pull it up. Make sure that you've got the end held securely. You don't want to pull it too tight yet. And then for this hole, you want to make sure that you don't split your thread. If you put your needle through your thread and split your thread, you're not going to be able to tighten your binding stitches. It won't tighten because your thread is not going to allow it to do so. Your thread is twisted. The strands in your thread are twisted. So if you slice through that needle, if you slice through that thread with your needle and separate those strands in there, it's going to prevent you from pulling somewhere else. So what you kind of want to do is you want to try to go in below it. You can see that there's a hole there. You can see your thread comes up this way. So try to go in like below where that thread is coming up. And then I always like to open mine up and make sure that it's coming through okay. There we go. And you can feel it when it comes through. So then I can see that my point is coming out of the paper. Then you want to make sure that you go below the thread in this stitch hole here and not through the thread that's laying across the hole. And then you've got your bam, done, sort of. Okay, so you want to pull it, not too tight, because if you pull it too tight, you'll just tear through your paper. One of these tails goes on one side of the string. So you've got, can you see how that is? One on one side, one on the other. Okay, so then now what you want to do is you kind of want to pull it. And because the wax is on it, it's going to make it a little snug. But if you hold your finger on this, you can tell when it's getting tight. And you know when it's tight enough because it's going to go kind of like a guitar string or a piano string. It's going to hold tension. Now you can take your clip off because it's going to get in the way if you don't. Okay. So there we go. Got that. See that? Look at that. That's good. That's good. That's not too tight. It's not too loose. Now, because it's waxed, it's going to hold there pretty well. But you don't want to unnecessarily pull it. And my fingers just are not working. Darn it. Come on out of there, you. Okay, there we go. Give it another good firm pull. And first knot, I always tie 3 knots. Second knot, spin. Third knot. There we go. And now, voila, you have a book. Is that not the cutest little thing in the whole freaking world? Anyway, I'm going to leave it like that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'll probably put it in my Etsy store and just decorate the heck out of it. If you're going to do things like sew the pages, like with stitching. Sorry? Bye, Lulu. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Get those little strings off of there. Oh, so happy to see everybody today. Okay, so now, what was this? Oh, yeah. If you're going to do things like stitching on the sewing machine, which stitching through paper is incredibly easy. I find it easier than stitching through fabric, weirdly enough. And you want to do that before you stitch your pages in. So like if I wanted to stitch this down as a tuck, so I could just tuck paper underneath here instead of gluing it down, which is totally okay too. I would want to do that before I put these in. A lot of people also, when they have a center page like this, they will put like a whole 2-page spread of something in there, and then that'll be their surprise center. Boop. Like this one. This is one that I am working on. I made it out of an old book. Oh darn! And I'm making the spine jewelry for it at the moment. But this is from a book from 1903 called In the Garden of Charity, and it's all about flowers. Okay, jacquard, lace, and I left the original cover because I thought it was really grungy and cool. So anyway, some of the centers, that center isn't too fancy, but I did do a fancier thing on one of these others, like this one. And these are seed packets from Nick the Booksmith on Etsy. I think these are not on her Etsy store though. These are freebies. So you have to go watch her videos and figure out which video has the freebies of these on them. But what I did was I just put them in with a washi tape and I glued them in because the washi tape doesn't hold that well. And I left them open, the seed pack, because this book has 3 signatures, and this is the last signature. So this is my surprise. And yeah, I got all kinds of different stuff. This is a cool little thing I learned recently. It's a little for journaling space. Not that. But you have this little page. It's all folded up like this. When you open it, you can write on the inside. I have a little pocket inside of this one with extra paper in it. And then you could hook this inside of a pocket, another pocket, like that. But this book is all about flowers. And I loved working with this because I've got all kinds of little surprisey things in it. And I learned how to make lace-covered envelopes, which is fun. And let's see. The center, what's the center on that one? And then, do I have anything on the center of this one? I don't remember. Oh, I've got the stamping, the stenciling on this one. So that is really, I thought that came out really cool. It's beautiful. But yeah, all kinds of different papers and stuff. And like I was saying about the sewing on, this one is sewed on, and I sewed that on before I put the, see how it's got stitching up here too. I sewed that on before I put the pages in the book because you really can't stitch there once you put the papers in your book. It's just impossible. But yeah, I've got all kinds of flowery stuff, and I folded a doily, and this one's really cool. I figured out how to do it with vellum. I lined the inside of the doily pocket with vellum so you could still see through it, but it wouldn't tear up the doily, and you could use it as a pocket, and it's see-through. I love it that it's see-through. I think it's cool. Yeah, lots of tucks and things. But yeah, you know, I mean, this is a really elaborate example of a journal, and this is a really simple example of a journal. And either one, I mean, they're just as fun to make. One is just as fun to make as the other. Sometimes you just need to do something simple and brainless like this. And it doesn't matter, like this has got a torn corner. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can cover that up. One thing that I've learned making junk journals, you can cover up a lot of stuff. So that was pretty cool. We did this in just a little less than 2 hours. Let's see. Where's that other one? Yeah, this is the one that we did, that we started today with the little tiny spine. And I think that it might be a little bit troublesome because it's so skinny, but I'm thinking what I might want to do is just like, you can get like clips and stuff. Oh, hell, you could use a binder clip and just bind that shut or clip that shut so it doesn't like boop fall open all the time. That's why it's coming open, is because the oh no, I've got paper stuck to me. Imagine that. Because the spine is so narrow and I've got that piece of fabric in there. But if you leave it like this, or if you leave it like this overnight, it'll probably stop doing that. You just have to train them, just like dogs. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today. I know it wasn't coloring, but I wanted to do something different for you guys because I do like to craft as well as color, and I don't do a whole lot of crafting videos on this channel, and that's something that I need to do more of. I'm also going to do. I brought my pliers out because I was going to go over making spine jewelry, but we didn't get that far. That's okay though. We can do that another time. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please put it in the comments. I'm still intending to do a video about how to use vellum because I have a lot of vellum. And it's you can print on this one on one side of it. The other side is too shiny, but you can print on one side of this vellum. And if you get printable vellum, that's really cool because then you can use it in your pages, or you can use it for anything. I mean, if you want to print a PDF coloring page on a piece of vellum, you could do that. That would look so freaking cool, wouldn't it? Oh my God, with alcohol markers, stained glass, instant stained glass. That would look cool. Dudes, do it. So, there we go. Yeah, if you have any suggestions, let me know. Send me a note, write me a comment. Please give me your thumbs up because it really, really does help me. I don't like to troll for thumbs up, but I need them, man. I need the thumbs. I need the subscriptions because I really want to do that giveaway, and it's getting closer, little by little. Giveaway's coming up. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do on Tuesday. I'll think of something, probably color, but I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens. See how I'm feeling. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you for spending some time with me, for letting me talk your ear off and and all of that, and putting up with me and Mark. And I hope you guys have a really, really great day, evening, tomorrow, week. Have a spectacular week. I hope the weather's good for everyone, and I hope that everyone is in good spirits. So, I know it's a couple minutes early, but I'm going to sign off. So, peace, love. Don't forget, it's not about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Dang it, did it wrong again. My tongue, I swore. Okay. Yeah, make it a happy, crafty, colorful journey. And don't forget to hug the people you love, because you never know when you won't get another chance. And eat good food too, because wow, dudes, food is awesome. Okay, I'm done. I'll see y'all later. Take care. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.